Hello, everyone. My name is TJ. I head the marketing team here at Entytle, and thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today as Sushana talks about one of our upcoming workflows features that we are very excited to present to you. I see a mix of new names, folks we've never met before. I see some names that we are familiar with. Some of our customers are here on the call, so this is very encouraging. And with that, let's just get going. And now to introduce the speaker of the day, Sushana Taunk. She's a senior product manager at Entytle. She's been here for a bunch of years, and she has been working on some cutting edge stuff that we do, some really innovative technologies. Rather than me get into a detailed introduction about Sushana, why don't you come online? Yep, there you go. Thank you. And let's just talk about who Sushana is. What's her role here at Entytle? How do you make a difference to the lives of our customers, our users in the industrial world?
Hi, teacher. Thank you for the introduction. You're very kind. Good morning, good evening to everyone who's taken the time out to come listen to us today. I am super excited to have the opportunity to bring one of our amazing capabilities of Entytle. And I get this opportunity to talk to you about it, give you some details about why we came up with it. So the title says it. I'm a product manager. I, besides building products and features, also take care of product analytics and proactive user engagement at Entytle. So I do make it a business to regularly talk to your users so that I can understand the challenges they face and also come up with ideas and solutions of how we can make it easier for them. So we solve problems for our users, and that's what we really want to do in the end. Our products and features are based on that.
Awesome. Thanks for that introduction. So is it safe to say that this is more of a people role than a product role?
It is both. I mean, we build product for our people, and the people here are folks from the industrial OEM sector. Our job is to make their lives easier.
All right. Okay, with that introduction, let's just talk about this title. The first time I heard this, you wanted to do this event around I'll Get Back to You. That's a very unique title for an event. I was amused. And I had this weird smile on my face because you hear this so often. What's the story behind this?
So we've all said it, we've all heard it. I'm guilty of saying it only last week. I've heard it from my colleagues. I'm sure you would have probably said it or heard it from your folks in your setting as well. Tell me, why would you have said it, TJ? Why would you think someone said it to you?
All right, you just threw me under the bus live during an event, but there's multiple reasons, right? Sometimes, people ask me for all kinds of information. Sometimes it's campaign data. Sometimes it is, sometimes it is a pipeline data. Sometimes it's revenue information. There's just so much that's going on in any corporate across any corporate department. So that's when you say, I'll get back to you. But I'm assuming you have a better answer than I do because you've spoken to a ton of customers and users over the years, and you've actually focused on this tagline, which is I'll get back to you. What's the story behind it?
So generally, there are probably three settings in which somebody would have said this. Probably someone seeking for information, you don't have access to that immediately, and then because you don't have the time to give that information, you'd say, I'll get back to you. Another setting would be where you don't even know where to look. You have tons of information that you need to go fish into to get that information that was asked of you if someone's searching for it. So you don't even know where to look. That's when you'd say, I'll get back to you. Another pretty rare case scenario, not something we typically encounter, would be a situation where they're not really going to get back to you, but they're just being polite. But we could focus on two settings here. It's all about context. It's all about the context of information. Someone's looking for some information in some context, and in that, they're going to be reaching out to get that information from you. And unfortunately, you don't have that information at that moment to give it. And hence, that connection is lost. Maybe I could highlight some further. We've done several interviews over the past few years. And if we can go to the next slide, I'd like to show you three real world examples. We spoke to different kinds of personas. We spoke to sales reps, let's say for that time being or for this demo. we're going to just name her Sarah. I spoke with Sarah. In the interview, Sarah let me know a scenario in which she was out of office and she was in a conversation in the Teams chat collaborative tool that everybody uses in Royal. Her territory manager is asking her some information about a customer that's a potential churn risk. And Sarah really needs to look at what was the last transaction for this particular client. And unfortunately, she had to reply, I'll get back to you, because she didn't have access to her system, access to the installed base data on the Entytle application. All she had was a phone, and she was only able to chat on Teams with her boss. Another scenario where Mike, let's say we'll call him, Mike's a field service technician. Mike was unfortunate enough to face a really embarrassing situation that he actually shared with me during an interview, where Mike was at a customer, and he was called upon to do standard maintenance over there. And suddenly the customer started asking details of another equipment that was installed by the company that Mike works for. Now, Mike was equipped with information for the equipment he was looking for, and he'd gone to fix. However, suddenly being thrown under the bus, just like I did to you earlier today. Getting details of something on the spot was difficult for Mike because Mike is at a remote factory and there's zero connectivity. The only thing Mike could do, thinking on spot there, was chat with his colleagues back at the office via Microsoft Teams and ask questions about the other equipment while embarrassingly trying to answer the questions of the customer at the moment. And unfortunately, towards the end, Mike had to say, I'll get back to you. Another situation where the VP of aftermarket, one of them that I spoke with, was in a meeting seated across their CEO. And as conversations went ahead, they deep dived into one particular information about a pipeline. And they needed to quickly get details about what's the information here, what's the status, stat. Now, the VP is looking for information, and VP isn't able to get that for them. They had to live chat with their team, who's not part of this meeting, trying to get information, and their team ended up saying, I'll get back to you, the VP. And then in the end, the VP had to also say that to the CEO. Now imagine if in an alternate universe, none of these folks had to say, I will get back to you. They would have had information in their hands at the right time so that the connection they were trying to make with that piece of information would have been made available to them. And context wouldn't have been lost. This is where I will get back to you problem comes up. And this is where Entytle is trying to solve that for you all, or for people like Mike, Sarah, our VP of aftermarket, by our solution called IB Collab.
This is actually interesting. One of the surveys that we did, I think 3 years ago at the start of COVID, or just before the start of COVID, was we had reached out to a bunch of field service technicians. And one of the challenges that they always mentioned was connectivity can be really poor when you are in a plant. These plants or the customer they're visiting can sometimes be in an extremely remote area where the cell phone coverage is poor. And the next thing you enter a plant with all these heavy machinery, the cell phone coverage is almost sometimes zero. Yeah, they can get access to some kind of a Wi-Fi that the plant uses and things like that, but that's not necessarily the best case scenario for them. And probably Mike, and I'm assuming all these names are, names are changed to protect the innocent for obvious reasons. But I can relate to what the story that you said about Mike, because that's exactly what we heard from a bunch of field service technicians about 3 years ago on how they cannot walk into a customer's plant while they're looking at that equipment, or doing maintenance on an equipment or answering a call, but they don't have access to the right information back that they can tie back to that particular asset that is installed there. And they have to go back to the local office, the corporate office, to get that information often. I've also heard field service technicians printing a bunch of papers, pages and pages worth of equipment and carrying it to that location. But hey, there's also the other challenge, which is you are going to service a particular equipment and you don't know what else is installed there. And if the customer is asking you a question, it leaves you red-faced because now it's the same company selling two assets, but the field service technician cannot answer anything about the other equipment. That just does not reflect from a customer service and a customer experience perspective. So I think I relate to this based on the survey that we had done a couple of years ago. And yeah, you painted a really nice picture, which is, imagine if everything was available at a fingertip, right? That's what the promised land looks like. So let's talk a little more about, you mentioned context, right? Let's just talk a little more about context and how it ties into this whole communication thing.
So IB Collab is all about collaboration in context to enhance connectivity. Connections occur, as the heading says, when communications happen in context. Sarah and her territory manager were in a communication trying to get some information. And their connection was lost because contextual information was not available to them. It is in the install base setting all about the where, the when, and the why. Information retrieval is paramount at the right time so that context is interrupted. Once you lose that connection, it's sometimes never going to be coming back to you. Even at times when you're having a conversation with yourself and you're looking for some information, but if it takes you several screens, couple of clicks to get that information, you've already lost the connection because you didn't get that information in context. So you've actually said, I'll get back to you to your own self at times. And you would have said that to Sarah, had to say that. Even though she wanted to help, she probably knew where to get that information, but it was not easily accessible to her. So she did go and respond to her boss. However, the connection was lost because that moment when that information was important is gone now. Similarly, if the VP was able to deliver within seconds, the CEO would have been far more happy and that conversation would have furthered. Probably it would have gone into a different direction. Probably a follow-up meeting would not have been required.
That's really, really powerful, actually. And I can connect to it, right? When you're having a conversation, you and I have conversations around product and marketing. And if we don't have a data point in front of us when we need it, we actually have to pause that conversation or it just goes on a tangent. And then we promise to revisit that conversation sometime later. But that may or may not happen because, there's a zillion things that are happening on a day-to-day basis. And then that context is lost unless you can get back to that conversation. So this is actually very, very powerful stuff. And I can completely see why having access to information in a split second can further the cause and complete the cycle of good communication done in the right context leads to connections. So the proof is in the pudding, right? And we promise a short runtime. So the proof is in the pudding. Let's just talk about what IB Collab looks like. Do you want to go ahead and take over the screen sharing? I'll stop sharing. So folks, while Sushana sets up her screen share, let us know if you have any questions. Let us know if there's anything that you would like Sushana to answer for you. There you go, Sushana. I think I can see your screen. So over to you. Let's do a quick demo and just talk about how you're going to help out Sarah, Mike, and the VP of Aftermarket.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the Entytle application, as everybody knows, is powered by a powerful search. And what we've done is bring that capability of the powerful search in as an integration with Microsoft Teams application, one of the most widely used collaboration conversation messenger tools in professional settings. So that people like Sarah, people like Mike, people like the VP of Aftermarket are able to have context-driven conversations. So let me just show you how it would be. Let's say Sarah was in that situation, probably even on her phone, not having access to the application on her desktop. And this is the information she's looking for. All she had to do is click and ask Entytle. Go ahead and put in the name of the location. And that's it. You would get contextual information in a very familiar setting. which is Microsoft Teams application. Something all of us are logged into day in, day out. It's familiar, it's intuitive. Now, this is what our application does here. It brings you the powerful search in the setting in this place. You've looked for what you're asking, you're looking at what you're asking for. She's looking at information about this particular location. And we give you a bunch of options. You can filter those options based on, are you only looking for a location and account? Do you want equipment related information related to that or opportunities? And here we were looking at the details about an account. Go ahead and invoke that. And the Entytle chatbot would tell you key information about that. Sarah's looking for when was the last time we transacted with this location. There you go. Sarah has this information within seconds now. Did not have to navigate elsewhere. She's probably on a different chat with the boss, and on another chat, she's asking the Entytle chatbot to give these information to her. Similarly, Mike wouldn't even have to talk to folks back at office. He would have simply used Microsoft Teams integration with Entytle to invoke any kind of information about locations. Now he sees that he's probably at QNX Communications. He's looking at one equipment, but there are 24 other equipment that are sitting here. You could quickly just type in Entytle find Aquamate 1000, and you would get that information. Similarly, our VP of Aftermarket would be looking at information about a particular pipeline. All they have to do, or for that matter, all the CEO could have also done while talking to everybody and typing it, would have been just type Entytle find and go ahead with just type in the name of the pipeline, and key information about that pipeline would be surfaced. You could definitely be more specific. The name of the pipeline was predicted paths strategic account, but there you go. I am looking at predicted paths strategic account. Mind you, we've made icons such that you could just quickly reach information as you'd want it. And there you go. The status of the pipeline is planned. We're looking at start date, details about the end date, target revenue, more. If any of these personas were to look at seeking for more information about it, all they would have to do is click on know more, and they would be navigated back to the Entytle application where they'd see the entire 360 view. It's just that simple.
This is really, really powerful stuff. I mean, it's producing information in a fraction of a second. I think you answered it. It's that powerful search that we've built in the backend that's being funneled here. So it's exactly the same search result, but in the context of the communication that's happening. Right? I think that all of that makes sense now, which is, the context is important, and not leaving that context to fetch information is important. So we're basically bringing the power of that platform, of the Entytle platform, and the powerful search to Microsoft Teams. Great. Thank you so much for that really short demo showcasing what that potential looks like. Folks on the call, and I also see customers on the call. This is already available. So in case you would like to go ahead and try this out, reach out to your customer success managers. We'll go ahead and enable it for your specific account. And I think I'm pretty sure both Sushana and I agree that you're going to find this very, very useful, being able to look up all that information without having to leave the messenger of choice in the corporate world, which is Microsoft Teams. With that, Sushana, let's just quickly touch upon what's next. This is information. You're able to fetch information. What more are you planning to do with this particular workflow?
Oh, a lot more, DJ. This is just the beginning. This is you getting access to information. The next is, what can you do with all of this information? You can, as Microsoft Teams does very well, collaborate better, collaborate with enriched information. Imagine being able to do this and be able to forward that card to someone. Let's say the sales, Sarah here was looking at an opportunity for this particular location. It's assigned to Mike, and she goes and checks that and sees that Mike hasn't updated the status of this. All she had to do was just forward that to Mike and let him know with a quick information there. Mike, can you update that? And what's more interesting is Mike would have just responded back and say updated. Mike would have had to go to the Entytle application and update it. And then all Sarah would have to do is do that search all over again. She doesn't even need to go log into the Entytle application all over again. Just do that search again, look at that opportunity in her team space, and the updates are real time. So if there's any change made in the Entytle application, it takes no extra seconds to update the same and fetch that information from the Microsoft Teams place. Another great use case for collaboration is bringing this capability of the Entytle search chatbot in a group setting. Imagine the VP, Mike, Sarah, all the other folks in the team are in a group chat in Teams, and their manager is looking at details there, invokes details about the pipeline, takes a look at all the opportunities that are open. Everybody there is able to just invoke the opportunity they're working on and update the status right there. So it's a conversation enriched with information in a collaborative setting. And nobody has had to leave the most familiar tool they log into every day. That is the power that's brought to you.
Sum total is it is the power of Entytle in Microsoft Teams. I love this. I love this stuff. All right. So I think we have time for just one question. And I think that's a very reasonable question. Can they use this without Entytle?
So as I've said, it is powered by the Entitle's search. So if you're a user of Entytle already, it takes us seconds to get you enabled on it. You could just search it on your Microsoft Teams, download the application called Entytle, obviously. And if you've gotten this enabled for your client from our CSMs, you can start using it immediately. But yes, you will need to be an Entytle user to leverage this.
All right. Thank you so much, Sushana. That was the one question that came in. All right, folks. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up as promised. We'll this workflow is available. Feel free to write to us at info@Entytle or write to Sushana, sushana.taunk@entytle.com. And that's SUSHANA, sushana.taunk@entytle.com. Or just reach out to your customer success managers. There's one assigned to each account. Each customer that we work with. So reach out to them and we'll go ahead and enable this. Sushana, thank you so much for taking the time. This is beautiful. It works seamlessly. I love this concept. I think I'm taking away quite a few things from this conversation, including the pain points that you spoke about. I love this context communication and the whole connectivity angle. I think I'm going to see a lot of my conversations very differently because of the way you've laid it out. And probably the next time I'll get back to you, I'm going to go back and remember this conversation and this particular event that the webinar that we did together. So thank you so much.
I really hope that if it's in installed base information setting, you don't have to say, I'll get back to you, unless you really don't want to get back to them, because you've got IB Collab now.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks everyone. Take care now and have a great day. Bye-bye.